must de-radicalize all the Amber fighters still in the bush. We must show them love. We must bring them home. We need to go back to the cause of this problem. What happened before we come out, become gods to fight our nation. Some of this reason is very simple, which is marginalization. We were treated as second-class citizens in our own in our own father's land or our motherland. Some of us are degree holders. Some of us are educated, but we got no jobs in our own fatherland or motherland. There are companies located around our areas, but most of those companies are run by French-speaking Cameroonians. We in our own area, we don't have an opportunity to work in those companies. For example, I will call Kafiko Inosin. Most of the administrators there are run by the French-speaking Cameroonians. We have CDC. Almost all the administrators are run by French-speaking Cameroonians. If you are in your own country and a proud citizen of your country, are you sure you're going to take such thing? If we all are Cameroonians, why were we treated that way? That is those are the reasons why we pick up guns to fight our government. And some of these reasons why we decided to lay down our arms is because we realized that this government is more than us for us to fight, but at least we have let them know that we are angry, and that is why we all are here. I used to see most of my friends who go in for concours, gendarmeries, police, and some professional school, government schools. Your time is up. 10 minutes, sir. 10 minutes, sir. We will realize that they will say a concours of 6,000. In that 6,000 gendarmes, army or police, it will be just about 200 English-speaking Cameroonians. Is that correct? There is Soviet School of Public Works in Boya. Most of that school are French-speaking Cameroonians that are there. Is that correct? No. Enam, Emia, most of them are French-speaking Cameroonians. Is this country a bilingual country or a French country? Are we not colonized by the French-speaking Cameroonians? For peace to return back in our country, those things must stop.
My names are Capture and Destroy. 1st Brigade Commander of FACO, the People's Army, commonly called the Amazonian Army. I am here to participate on behalf of the generals and commanders of FACO for the peaceful dialogue called up by the head of states and Cameroonians of goodwill.
They call me Aloma. This is the long-awaited day that we have been waiting for, that we have been fighting for. At a time like this, with mixed feelings, I'm talking with tears in my eyes. We are your children. We went to the bush. You people abandoned us. We feel that we were maltreated as Anglophone. We thought that fighting the government would solve the problem. But thank God that today, God has touched our heart.
The major national dialogue convened by the President of the Republic to bring together Cameroonians of goodwill in the same place and space offers us the unexpected opportunity for a collective start aimed at finding concrete and pragmatic solutions far from petty squabbles to the problems that have separated us physically and intellectually in recent times. The gravity of the situation in the Northwest and Southwest regions must challenge and concern us. Above all, it must oblige us all, individually and collectively, regardless of our regions of origin, of our political or religious convictions, to achieve a result, that is to restore peace and tranquility in these two regions.
What's your take on the unfolding of this major national
I'm sincerely very disappointed. This has been a show that has nothing to do with the problems that people are facing in the North and South. We're absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. I don't know anything that we have been discussed that can lead us to solve the problem. Absolutely nothing. And people are joking with the future of the country.
What do you mean by people are joking?
Well, because if you put up a show which is not to have a semblance of a dialogue when you're not having one, that's a show. There was no participation, there was no discussion between the members, there was nothing done to make sure there's full participation. I was called a participant. I'm not a participant, I was a spectator.
The first plenary of this major national dialogue just ended. What are some of the loopholes that you identified in the discussions?
Nothing happened, so far as I'm concerned. It was just a show. Nothing happened.
And you're looking forward to continue, and you'll be part of the commission. You don't yet know?
I have more important things to do, okay? I have other meetings to attend. I don't think that I will come to a meeting which I think is important for the future of my country to go through this. I'm very grateful I was invited to see. It's always good to come and see what's going on. I've seen, and well, I hope those who are doing this have a very good plan to make sure it works. Because if it doesn't work, they will have to be accountable to future generations. When you have commissions, when people who are the origin of our problems are in those commissions, how are you going to solve it? How are you going to solve it? We are, in English, what do you say? We are smoking our own exhaust and getting high on it, and that's sad.
What should be changed in the way things are unfolding here?
We should have a dialogue. Dialogue means people talk. We plan together, we work together, we resolve together.
Thanks.
They are planning alone, they are working alone. I hope they can solve it alone.
Who are they planning alone and so working alone?
Don't you know who is planning this? Did you plan it?
Who are those who are planning alone and working alone here?
Don't you know who is planning this? You're a journalist.
You said they are planning alone and working alone.
But don't you know who is planning this?
I don't know. I want to.
Well, you find out and you'll be a better journalist.
All right. Thank you, Barrister. Thank you. Thank you, even though you have refused to answer my question.
I don't refuse to answer your question.
Yes.
You don't ask me the color of the sky. It's obvious. Look at the documents. Who is planning it? Is it me?
Are you referring to the government, the administration, the CPM?
I thought it's the government occasion. It's organized by the government.
We equally have people coming from the diaspora who are taking part in this major national dialogue at the Yaoundé Conference Center, and many of them are expressing disappointment with what has been happening here at the Yaoundé Conference Center. Many of them saying that it's not a dialogue but a monologue, and we have one of them with me here. Her name Merlin Ndwa. You're welcome.
Thank you.
What do you think about all what has been happening here since morning?
So I think as participants from the diaspora, we would like to officially register our displeasure and dissatisfaction for day one. We continue to be very hopeful that the government invited us here in a good faith. So far on this day one, we haven't seen any good faith, because from day one it's been a monologue and not a dialogue. So we just want to officially register with the press and let the people in the diaspora that were here to represent know that so far day one was not, we didn't see any form of dialogue. It's been a monologue so far.
Are you saying that you have not said anything up to now?
No, actually, and the commissions have already been planned. We didn't have any input, because I'm thinking that dialogue, we're supposed to be part of the planning process and decide together. We're supposed to vote our rapporteur and who we want to represent us and lead the commissions, but we came and everything had already been prescribed. We didn't have any input.
All right, we'll be coming back to the diasporans in a short while. Time for us to receive Christian Cardinal Tumi. He is the Archbishop Emeritus of the Douala Metropolitan Archdiocese of the Roman Catholic Church, Chief Convener of the Anglophone General Conference. His Eminence, you're welcome. You're just coming from the first plenary of the ongoing major national dialogue. What's your take on the discussions at the level of the plenary?
I think it's passed on very well. I think so far so good. Things are going on very well. I think within that short time we are going to do quite a number of things, propositions, because the work that will be done will be that of the Prime Minister and the President of the Republic will make propositions, and we'll love to see those propositions put into practice.
All right, His Eminence, we're hearing lots of complaints coming from the diasporans, people who are coming from the diaspora, hearing from political parties and so on and so forth, talking about a monologue, something that's supposed to be dialogue. They're talking about a monologue.
I don't think it's monologue. Well, quite a number of speakers took the floor. When they say monologue, they should explain themselves. What do they mean? What do they mean by monologue?
So,
what do they mean? Ask them.
They think that they are not allowed to speak, they are not free to speak, they are not given the floor to air their opinions.
No, now we have the commissions, and the commissions have been created, and anybody who is a member in the meeting can participate in any commission of his choice, his or her choice. And we'll come again to the assembly. If anybody has anything to say, we're giving the floor. I don't think so. I don't have that impression. That's my opinion.
We are receiving a member of parliament of the Social Democratic Front, Senator Barrister Kenyang George. What's your take on the discussions during the plenary?
Well, the discussion was free discussion, but my worry is one, that we are discussing to people who are not the main actors. The main actors are not here. I thought I was going to see the diaspora that is so involved in what is happening, financing what is happening in the northwest and southwest regions. I have not seen them. The interim government, I've not seen them. I thought I was going to see the guys, the Amber people, also represented in this talk. I have not seen them. And I think that these are the main actors. So we have talking to ourselves, and talking to ourselves I don't think is going to solve the problem. Another issue is this issue of decentralization that the state is trying to push. I think that decentralization has failed, and it is no more the time for us to be talking about decentralization. It has failed. The earlier we notice that we're wasting our time and go to the main issue, talking about Anglophones, how to solve the Anglophone crisis and not diluting it, it is going to serve the purpose.
Thank you very much, Senator Kenyang George. We equally have the Vice President of Cameroon's Upper House of Parliament, Senator Keze Emilia. You have been here since morning taking part in the major national dialogue intended to find a way out of the Anglophone crisis. The first plenary just ended. What do you think about the unfolding of events here at the conference center? Is it going to produce the concrete and practical results or expectations of Cameroonians as indicated by the PM?
Well, I'm one of those persons in life that I don't project easily, because the human being has multiple facets in his face, and the faces and the hearts are really not connected. What the expression of the face is very drastically different from what manifests in the heart. Well, we got here this morning and prayers were said. Lots of things have happened. A bureau has been set in place, and there are little hitches here and there which are not deniable, but you know this first day is bound to have all of these mistakes.
What are some of those hitches?
The diasporans have complained that they weren't given sufficient time to express their minds, and that's the complaint they've registered to me here, and I've told them that I've taken note tomorrow is the beginning, and the necessary disposition will be put in place to correct this present dispensation so that they don't go back hurt.
Thanks, Senator Nkezi Emilia. You are a Vice President of Cameroon's Upper House of Parliament, and you were talking about the diasporans, and many of them are still here. Padi Asanga, what is the problem?
Let me tell you something. Who spoke for the diasporan that were called here? They paid us from the taxpayers' money, paid our flight to come, and they had chosen people to speak, whereas they had paid our flight. Who spoke for the diaspora? Babila, can you answer me that question? Let one of these CPD and big hooks come and tell us who spoke for the people in the diaspora. So we are not going to keep making the same mistake and expecting different results. It is impossible.
The General Coordinator of the Federalist Movement, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You have been here since morning, observing the happenings here at the Yaoundé Conference Center within the context of the grand or the major national dialogue. What's your take on what has been said here, what has happened here up to this moment?
My brother, first of all, we all love this country, okay? That much is clear. That's why some of us accepted the invitation from the government to come. But what we have noticed is that all habits die hard. At the heart of the Anglophone problem is hyper-centralization of power, which means the country is being run primarily by unelected, appointed officials. This government, in the face of this crisis, proceeded today to appointing bureau members of the various commissions. Not a single member of the diaspora is in any of those bureaus. We think it's ridiculous. Let's stop pretending. Let's stop kicking the can down the road. It is time to be honest with ourselves. Let's be honest. And finally, stop this top-bottom approach. That's why we're talking about a federation, which is a bottom-top approach, where power truly belongs to the people and not the people on top.
Dr. Chimuta Divine Banda, President of the National Commission on Human Rights and Freedoms, you called for return to 3 or 4 state federalism, but federalism is not on the agenda.
No, it would be a mistake, because in a discussion of decentralization, the best form of it is federalism. Federalism will certainly be discussed within the framework of decentralization.
The representative of those who have been presented here as ex-fighters said we should go back to the root cause of the problem. This is what you have been saying long.
Yeah, we've been saying this for more than 3 years, whilst as president of the consortium until date. The fundamental problems in this country is the form of a state. We cannot address the solution without talking about the form of a state. It's not possible. Okay, the decentralization, this is 23 years ago. It's enshrined in the 1996 Constitution. It has not been implemented, and we are talking about it today. There's bilingualism, multiculturalism, and the other problems. But, and I repeat, if we have to come out of this problem, if we are not here just for showmanship, if we are not here for cosmetic purposes, we need to talk about the form of a state.
Are you confident that the 8 issues highlighted by the Prime Minister to be discussed during this major national dialogue are going to provide concrete and pragmatic solutions, as I said?
I think so. I have that impression, because quite a number of those from outside, that is those who are thought to be against the administration, quite a number are present, quite a number are here, and that is a good sign. Everything should be put on the table. Nothing should be omitted.
Mr. Chairman of the Social Democratic Front, you listen to the Prime Minister, you listen to the representative of the ex-fighters. What's your take on what has been said up to now?
Well, I think we are getting together trying to look for solutions. But I believe that these solutions should be looked from a deep-seated heart of truth, that we should come out reconciling ourselves. Coming to a dialogue like this is one thing. Talking is another thing. But implementing what we think and taking the concerns of the people is another thing. Because the way things are going, it seems as if they already have their resolutions under their armpits to tell you that do this, do that. Because the SDF, in its position as a major party in the North and Southwest, were not consulted in most of the things. The delegate that went out, there was nobody of the SDF. I've not been told of who is in the SDF in these commissions. So I start wondering. But I am prepared to follow it to the end and to make sure that the
feelings and the concerns of the SDF and the Cameroonian people are exposed.
You have been clamoring for a return to the federal system, and there is decentralization on the agenda.
Decentralization is dead. It's not effective. It's not practical. It's been proven. We talk of a two-state federation, the East and West Cameroon. Then under this two-state federation, we have more federated states again among them. The Southwest, a region, can now have other regions in the Southwest that form the federated state of the Southwest. And in the Northwest, the same thing.
Among the 8 issues mentioned by the Prime Minister to be discussed here is decentralization. Will you continue to press for federalism?
Of course. Of course. When you talk about decentralization, you talk about the form of the state. So it's up to us to push it up to that side. Let me just say the simple fact that we are sitting here today means the regime has recognized there is a problem, which is already a big advancement. And the fact that decentralization has been put on the agenda, it's now up to us to be able to go in there and tell them that decentralization has failed for 23 years and we need to go further. Now, we are in a process of dialogue. It's not a negotiation. It's not a give and take exercise. And people will have to voice out. And what we hope is that all those of former Southern Cameroon's extraction at this dialogue will speak from the bottom of their minds, will speak all what they have and will speak only the truth and will come out to stand for it as well. And I think if that happens, everybody will come out of this place satisfied. Now, if people want to force on the Southwest and Northwest population dispensations that are not up to their expectations, it will be difficult that this exercise brings the peace we expect. You have to understand that even in the Constitution of Cameroon, I think it's section 64, if I'm not mistaken, there is a provision for a special status to be given to any region. And so we need to really look at all what we have on hand today to make sure that the Northwest and the Southwest and the people of the ex-Southern Cameroons no longer feel marginalized, no longer suffer from the frustrations that brought about this war. We cannot come and sit here in Yaoundé for 4 days and pretend, and I think most of those I have met here today are not here to pretend.
Thank you very much, Honorable O.C. Joshua, first Vice President of the Social Democratic Front and one of the presidential candidates in the last presidential election in the Republic of Cameroon. Are you confident that we're going to have a concrete and pragmatic solution to the Anglophone crisis, as the Prime Minister indicated?
Yeah, that is why we are here. When we accept and when the head of states convened to this dialogue, it was the unique occasion to come together as one, because we have a dream, I can say, to be together like today, like tomorrow, like until the October 4th, to construct together our Cameroon. To do it, we have together. To do it, we have to change our mind. To do it, we have to accept the ideas of others. That is why we are here. And it is a process. We cannot say that at the 5th, all things will be ready in Cameroon, but we have to go in this kind of revolution, and we will be able to succeed.
The mayor of Buea, you said that you are looking forward to a solution to this crisis. The Prime Minister said you people should look for pragmatic and concrete solutions. Are you confident?
We are quite confident. The Prime Minister in his speech has outlined the major guidelines and reminded Cameroonians that English and French are not part of our culture. These are alien languages, and they should not determine our way of living. They should not influence our behavior, but rather the languages are official languages used in our countries because they were imposed on us by colonialism, and so it's part of the ills of colonialism. The Prime Minister has given the guidelines and the 8 committees. I think the 8 committees are going to address essentially the worries.
You are from the CPD and political party in Gara, Gerard.
We've been waiting for this. We know the untold suffering that is happening in our area, and we pray that these 5 days that we are going to deliberate here are going to yield some very important points that will come in to solve this crisis so that we can bring life to normalcy in our two speaking regions. It's not been easy. We are people who are on the ground and we master what is happening. So I was very pleased with what the Prime Minister said, and we were very pleased with the President to have convened this major national dialogue for us to look at the root causes and the problems of this Anglophone crisis so that we lay it to rest.
Chief Ndike, you are the president of the FACO Divisional Chiefs Conference, and you are taking part in this major national dialogue. You belong to the commission in charge of the taking care of internally displaced persons and refugees who are in Nigeria. What have you been doing since you came here? What are your observations concerning what has been happening here?
Thank you very much, Jonathan. It has not been easy since we started the day of yesterday, because I want to think that we have to start from what happened yesterday, because it was the official opening date. Honestly, what we have at hand and what would help us in this situation is honesty and truth. If we are not honest to ourselves, I think this dialogue will lead us to nowhere. And there's no Cameroonian who can boast to say he doesn't know what is happening. We all know the remote cause of this problem. When today we sit in a hall and in a room, people still talk about decentralization, we know for how many 23 years today he has healed no fruits. What is the meaning of that? Then how do we intend to solve this problem? We think that we should talk about federalism, and we don't know why some people are afraid of that language, federalism. I don't know why they are afraid of it. That is what we intend to, and that is what can help us. Because this United States of America is a federal state management system. Even Nigeria, close to us here, is a federal state system which they do manage, and those are successful nations. But we don't want to talk about it. We keep on talking about decentralization. What is the meaning of that? It means we are not ready to help ourselves. And honestly, I remember when we were in the last consultative dialogue in Boya, when the Bishop of Kumba said, if we don't ensure that this dialogue takes the right track, then what is coming ahead of us will be very heavier than this one.
We are receiving another traditional authority from the crisis-hit southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. He is taking part in the major national dialogue here at the Yaoundé Conference Center aimed at finding solutions to the Anglophone crisis and, of course, other socio-political problems affecting Cameroon. His Majesty Chief Simon, or rather Samuel Lionga, is a traditional ruler from the southwest region of the country, and you're one of the traditional rulers who have been clamoring for a return to federalism. When you look at the way things are unfolding here at the Yaoundé Conference Center, do you have the impression that we are moving towards that?
Well, from my impression or from my opinion, I still stand that federation is what will solve the problem of this country, because the problem of this country is not separation, it's governance. So no matter what name it is being given to, the problem is governance, and we believe that when the governed and the governor and the governed have a platform that starts from the base, it will work. But when they bring other appellations like decentralization and all of that, total autonomy, I don't know how it looks like. But what we know is that the common man, the grassroots man, wants to take part in the decision-making process. That is the bone of contention. And if we do all what we are doing here without touching that aspect of governance deeply, we are just working for the gallery.
This is the second day of the major national dialogue. When you look at what has been said from the very first day right up to this minute, do you have the impression, do you think that we are moving towards that? Are we moving towards anything concrete?
Yes, I think the first point is it is a platform that everybody has been given the opportunity to air out his view, to say his or her mind. So at the end of the day, those who will be charged with making the final conclusions and declarations, if they miss the target, I think they will be held responsible, because if this issue of governance, including the grassroots, the population in the decision-making process is not well tackled after 2-3 years, they will call for another dialogue, and I don't know how possible it will be. Remember, in 2008, there was a serious problem in this country. It was led by the youths, and today we are just in 2016, another one started, and today we call it the national dialogue. So, a few years ago, so if we are not taking this one serious, this is a golden opportunity for everybody. Whether you are of the French expression, whether you are of the English expression, all of us are Cameroonians. That is why in our stand as traditional rulers of Fako division, we say secession is of no value, is of no consequence. Our problem is governance, and we think that federalism is the only platform that will manage or address the governance problem in this country.
We are receiving another participant at the ongoing major national dialogue here at the Yaoundé Conference Center, and he is the spokesperson of the Anglophone General Conference, a veteran journalist. Elite Smith, you have been following up happenings here at the Yaoundé Conference Center. Up to now, what has been your observation? Are things unfolding towards the right direction?
Yeah, I think it's what we expected. I've always said that no battle lines ever survives a war. You heard of what happened at the Decentralization Commission, because we are trying to adhere to the letter to what the Prime Minister himself said, that there is no taboo. All subjects must be touched and handled. So that's what happened. And in other commissions, where I am at the, how do you call it, this diaspora commission, something like that. That's where I am. But I move around because I also go and look at other commissions.
What has been happening at the level of the commission in charge of the contribution of the diaspora to ending the crisis and, of course, nation building?
Well, it has been a fruitful conversation, much more open debate, which I think is not good that at this stage we can come on the media and say the nitty-gritty of what was going on. But I think it is promising, and I've always said that no one should expect that within 5 days we can solve a problem that's been lingering on for 58 years. But we came here with honesty, truth, and then with a positive mind.
I shared my experience of these boys. The unemployment which they are going through gives them the opportunity to fall prey into anything. If these boys have something to do, they will come out of the bushes. If we start projects, public investment projects that will create employment for these boys, you don't even need to go preach to them to leave the bushes. They will come to look for jobs. And I think this is one of the most important points we have highlighted in our commission.
No, globally speaking, you have been here. This is the second day of the major national dialogue, and the Prime Minister said this event must give birth to concrete and pragmatic solutions. Do you think that we are moving towards that direction?
In our commission, I think we are, because we are very practical in the commission. We are saying things that we know will, if effected, will lead to the coming back of some of the refugees. Like we said there, we cannot take for granted the power or the influence of the Ambazonian leaders that are locked up. We cannot take their power for granted. And so we said a kind of form of negotiation and dialogue should go on. This dialogue should not end here. It should also go on with them, because when one of those people stands out and says, let us come back, there are many people who listen to them. I shared an experience of a woman from Akwaya whom I met in the refugee camp in Nigeria. And I told her, you can't be in this condition. Come back home. And she asked me that, then the problem is not finished. We are going where?
You're indicating that the form of the state was discussed yesterday, but today, during the meeting at the level of the Commission on Decentralization and Local Development, some persons got angry, and they were even threatening to leave because they saw that there was rather discussion focused on the option of the government, the option of the ruling class, that is decentralization. But they are saying that the form of the state is not limited to decentralization.
Well, let me say this. We're not here to find an immediate solution to problems. We're here to give a certain orientation towards those solutions. We're here to overcome the resistance I'm talking about. There's resistance from many in government, and there's resistance from people who are on the other side. So there's resistance on both sides. Nobody gives in readily and easily to resistance, to what ideas they resist. So we're here to begin the work of finding a good compromise that is good for this country. Because at the end of the day, we want to leave here feeling that we've found some answers to what it will take to make this country a better place for every single Cameroonian.
What should be that answer according to you? What should be that solution that will make that Cameroon which you're describing good for every Cameroonian?
Wait, look, it's a process. There's no magic bullet. It's a process. We want to have better governance.
You know him all. You know his name. Peter Esoka. He is the president of the National Communication Council. He's the voice who has always been speaking behind the voice of the President of the Republic, Paul Biya. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
What's been your take on or what has been said here, or what has been happening here since yesterday? Today is the second day of this national dialogue.
I think it's a major issue that we should not joke about, and that we should make use of this opportunity to give cognizance to the very people who are crying out loud that they are discriminated against or that they are marginalized. This is the moment for us to speak the truth. A number of truths have been spoken already, but the next thing is speaking the truth and being able to implement that truth. We've had conferences of this nature over the years, but then when it comes to implementation or application of the law, it has been very difficult. I hope that this time we're not going to joke about it. Our young men and women are dying. People are left homeless. Our school children can't go to school. And nobody should take this for granted. The country is in trouble and we need to resolve the problem.
Mr. Peter Esoka, which commission do you belong, and what has been going on in that commission? What has been said up to now?
I am in the Bilingualism Commission, and a lot of talk has been said. The principal thing that we came to notice that we have to define between institutionalized bilingualism and individual bilingualism.
We are receiving Right Reverend Funky Samuel Afoba of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon. Right Reverend, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
How are the works unfolding at the level of your commission?
I'm in the 4th commission that is in charge of the return of refugees and the internally displaced. Everything is moving on well in that commission, and we've come out with very concrete resolutions that can give a free and soft landing for refugees who have to return, and also for the internally displaced persons who have to return to their different communities. We have talked about the security approach, where we have to see how they can come in and they are properly secured. And so we advocated that the military should get back to the barracks. There should be demilitarization in the 2 regions, and also that the armed boys should drop their arms. That's the first security move we've taken, and also to see how we can grant infrastructural development to rebuild the villages, and also to rebuild the hospitals and the schools that have been destroyed, and to give people a chance to live back in their different homes. We have also talked about the role of the government in all of these. For instance, because with different stakeholders, especially in the area of constituting a database from what the Ministry of Territorial Administration is already doing, and to see how we can actually know the number of IDPs in order to give them economic empowerment to regain their status in their different communities. We also ask that agro-economic activities should be enhanced in the Northwest and the Southwest regions, and the youth should be taken into consideration. We also talked about free education to all our youths for at least 3 years. It can be more, because they have lost 3 years of education, and in order to help them, empower them in their educational careers, they should give free education to all the youths in these regions.
I'm representing the diaspora, Pastor Kennedy Ijacha from Maryland in the United States.
What has been the major issues, the major recommendations, the major proposals that you're making this far? We are on the 4th day of this major national dialogue.
Yes, I mean, the main point that we're still fighting for is for a return to two-state federation, a return to Cameroon as it was on the 1st of October 1961. That's why we came here, and that's what we will be fighting for. But actually, I was in the Reconstruction and Development Committee, and in that committee, we talked about measures that we could put in place in order to build capacity, because there should be a lot of capacity building in terms of preserving the peace. That's why in our commission we said, okay, mindful of the work that will be done in the other committee, because the other committees will be the peace bringers. They will bring in peace, and then we will maintain peace. We have infrastructures that we have to put in place. We have to rebuild back the heritage that we had in the British Southern Cameroon. Things like the deep sea port in Limbe is under serious consideration. We talked about rebuilding the airport. We talked about viabilizing the energy project in Womb through the dam, and we talked also about Katsina. So those are some of the things that we want to see in place once the peace is established. But let's not have this mixed up. Peace can only come if we go back to the root cause of the crisis. And by all evidence, the root cause of the crisis is the phagocytation of the English-speaking Cameroonians, Southern Cameroon. They don't feel as if they don't feel as belonging to Cameroon. So we have to rebuild back that national consciousness, and the only way that you can do it is by going back to the federal constitution of 1961, because that was the treaty. Actually, that was the Treaty of Union between French Cameroon and English Cameroon.
We're receiving yet another participant. She's a member of Parliament, Honorable Edna Eni from Momo in the northwest region of the country. Honorable, you're welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. We have been distributed into 8 committees, though the clear picture of the root causes, like many people will know, the form of the state was not clearly stated. However, we took on ourselves to get into the various committees, because in whichever way you have to continue to push ahead the problems that are plaguing the English-speaking Cameroonians. So far, we decided to continue to get onto committees, and so I happen to be a member of one of the committees, the Committee on Bilingualism, Cultural Diversity, and Social Cohesion, which to many people in that committee that I share that this seems to be part of the problem. Part of the problem because for so many years we have heard about bilingualism, and we think that the fact that Cameroonians speak English or French is just a tool that we can use. Yes, it gives us an advantage here in the country and in the international scenario, but the worry we have here is not just the languages, but the problem of Anglophones not being recognized with their language. The English-speaking Cameroonian has been made to feel inferior, and so will struggle to speak French. Though some people say it gives us an advantage, because you can now learn French and you become stronger. We want to be recognized as English-speaking Cameroonians.
Another member of the diaspora is coming all the way from Germany, and of course Epa Kiwanuka, you have been here for 4 days now, and you are here because you were invited to help find a way out of the Anglophone crisis. What has been the contribution of the diaspora to this moment towards that objective?
Well, you say towards which objective? The objective of finding peace, or what is actually happening here, or what has been the contribution of the diaspora to this crisis? Because where I want to come from, I want to start from the contribution of the diaspora to this crisis. And I want to be very honest, and I want to say it the way it is. Because this is what people have refused to say. And these are the truths that people don't want to bring forward. The fact is, the most wicked Anglophones on earth live in the diaspora. Because I can't understand that people will sit behind their computers, do what they do, radicalize people, put them guns in the hands of innocent children to go and die. So for me, coming here was actually coming to find a solution. We, the diaspora, ourselves, the ones that put the guns in the hands of the children, to find a way to take it out and to be able to hunt down all those who are sitting behind their computers in the diaspora and setting the confusion that they are setting upon the lives of innocent people. Because what I can't understand is the fact that people sit where they are and every decision they make works against the people that they say they are protecting.
Another member of the diaspora, she's coming from the Decentralization and Local Development Committee. That is one of the tough committees here at the Major National Dialogue, and the debates have been quite heated in that commission.
Yes, hello. Yes, we had a lot of fireworks in our committee, which is understandable because it's actually the root cause of the problem in the Northwest and Southwest, which is a form of state. So we were determined to get our point across so we could be able to address some of the issues in the Northwest and Southwest, yes.
What are some of the issues that you have addressed till this moment?
Well, we talked about everything. First and foremost, I want to say that I'm very proud of my committee members in the Decentralization Committee. We had very heated debates. Where everybody was able to express themselves. We touched all the issues, federalism, and we talked about all the form of state, and we're happy the report was reflective of our discussions, and all the recommendations that we wanted are in the report, so we're very happy.
Another participant, a member of parliament from the Northwest region of the country, he is of the Justice Commission. Honorable, you're welcome.
Thank you. I think the Justice Commission has finished with its deliberations, and so we have agreed on some serious issues which I want to draw your attention to. We have agreed that lawyers in the Northwest and Southwest regions, they will both execute the functions of lawyers, barristers before the Supreme Court of Cameroon and the notary public. So it means that a lawyer in the North and Southwest region is at the same time a notary public, what they call notaire in the civil law zone. We have also agreed that a law school should be created in Cameroon. This law school is to permit our children who have been going to Nigeria, Sierra Leone, the Gambia, to become lawyers. So they were forced to go out because we do not have a law school in Cameroon, and we are forced to train them in chambers, in lawyers' chambers. So in order to avoid this cost and the risk of going out of the country, we said it will be important that we create one for ourselves because the logistics are there, the human resource is there. We have also agreed that only magistrates who master the English language and the common law should be posted in the Northwest and the Southwest regions, including court registers. We have also said that no statement will be taken from litigant by the judicial police in French in the Northwest and the Southwest region. You only hear somebody in the language that that person speaks best. And so in the Northwest and Southwest region, there is no reason why somebody, an Anglophone in that area, statement will be taken in French from an Anglophone. So henceforth, judicial officers will only take statement which will be sent to court as report in English and not in French as they have been doing.
Professor Elvis Ngole, you're a political scientist and a former member of government. What has been your contribution throughout these 4 days of the Major National Dialogue?
Yes, I have been, as you know, I'm a vice president of the commission number 4, which has to do with the return of refugees and internally displaced persons. We had a wonderful chairman,
in the person of the Christian Cardinal Toomey, who adopted an approach which is pretty exemplary. It was very Republican, he was very democratic, he was very human, and so there was a lot of human camaraderie and Republican serenity in our commission, to the extent that in spite of the diversity of delegates, we had bishops, we had the moderator of the Presbyterian Church, we had activists, we had men and women from all kinds of political parties. They were all there, they expressed themselves freely, and our report was adopted in unanimity. In unanimity.
What are some of the major aspects of that report that should be highlighted?
Some of the major aspects are that an enabling environment that has to do with peace and security, stability, and total support and facilitation for the refugees and displaced persons should be brought about. And that even includes those who are of armed groups dropping their arms, and it was even included that our soldiers who have a regalian mission to hold arms can continue to hold their arms, but that they go to their barracks where they know what their barracks are, in order to permit for people to feel confident to return.
We are receiving Senator from Doganyonga III of Balinyonga in the Mezam Division, Northwest Region of the Republic of Cameroon. His Royal Majesty, you're welcome. His Royal Highness, you have been taking part in this major national dialogue that has been going on for the past days since Monday here at the Yaoundé Conference Center. And today we are at the last day. What's your take on the general conduct of this event? What is going to come out of this event that should contribute in the return to normalcy and peace in the northwest and southwest regions of the country?
Thank you, Equinox, for giving me this opportunity to say a few words on the national dialogue that we're presently going through. First of all, I want to appreciate the fact that the head of state found that there was need to convene Cameroonians to dialogue over the problems that have created a lot of difficulty in the northwest and southwest regions. And lots of people have died, much property has been damaged and so on. Even the reputation of our country has suffered a lot because of all this. So I'm happy that the head of state has convened this national dialogue. And we have come together. As you probably know, we have been divided into 8 different commissions, handling different aspects of the problem. And the commissions sat and deliberated over all the issues, and the discussions were partly quite heated, which was normal. We had people from the diaspora and people from all walks of life, and the different commissions yesterday gave their reports of their recommendations. That was done yesterday in the plenary. Today, as you also know, we are going to have a public report, a comprehensive report of all the reports will be presented today. And it is then that the public is going to see exactly what has been done up to now. But before I end up this resume, I want to say it's my pleasure to have been, God has permitted me to participate in this grand national dialogue. And it took place, the commission was sitting in the tripartite room. And I want to remind you that in the tripartite 1991, when the Prime Minister was late Sadu Ayato, I was also prominent in the tripartite, and we did what we could do. History has it that there has been a lot of evolution. Time has passed, things have changed, and the head of state has seen himself that it has been necessary to convene Cameroonians again. Right? It's my hope that the quality of work that we've done will go a long way to satisfy the Cameroonians and make this country return to its peaceful nature so that we can all live in harmony and happiness.
Mr. Minister, I want you to emphasize on something, because the Anglophone crisis started from teachers and lawyers as a result of frustrations in the educational and justice systems of the country. And so I want you to emphasize on some of the major proposals that have emerged from your commission, the Commission on Education, that will go a long way to protect, promote, and consolidate the two systems of education in Cameroon, particularly the English subsystem of education.
First of all, as you know, we have proposed that the two subsystems, educational subsystem, should be maintained, absolutely maintained. And we will maintain the specificity, the academic specificity, the technical specificity concern the two subsystems. As you know, Anglophone subsystem had some difficulties for technical curricula, and we have the head of state have solved this problem by creating two HTTC, one in Kumba in the southwest region and one in Bambili in the northwest region. And he have also created a higher school of polytechnic in Bamenda. He has created also the high school of engineering and technology in Boya. As you see, the two subsystems will be maintained, reinforced and enhanced by the head of state.
Mr. Minister, concerning one of the major issues, the form of the state, I spoke to some Anglophone Cameroonians yesterday, and they were a little disappointed with the fact that they had pressed all throughout for federalism, but they rather obtained a special status for the northwest and southwest regions of the country. And some, however, said half is better than none. What do you think about this special status? Is it really going to solve the problem?
I think the question of the form of the state should not be considered as not have been treated. I think the different participants had to discuss about that. Some were for the federation, some were in favor of decentralizations. I think others had their own views, proposals, and all that concerns the form of the state. Today, well, I think the main proposal was to get our country deepen the process of decentralization. And within decentralization, we have so many responses to the expectations of the people. Those who really want their autonomy to be more involved in the treatment of their own affairs. And I think that when we talk of giving a special status to the two regions, it means, well, we will go further beyond what we have done so far in terms of transferring competences to councils. We will go further into transferring these competences to regions. And I think these entities will have more autonomy, more power, and that will be really decentralization. That will be a response to what they want. That is really being responsible for their well-being, responsible for the development of the areas, and that would be the first step. And we will see if in the future we need to do more. But for the time being, I think it's a good thing to have decided that, well, we could give a special status to these regions. Let us see what the President will decide.
Professor Laurent Serge Tundingwa, Minister of Basic Education of the Republic of Cameroon, after this meeting, after the major national dialogue, after the deliberations, notably in the Commission on Education, what is going to change in the management of the two educational systems in Cameroon, especially the English subsystem of education?
Yeah, I think that the two subsystems must be preserved in their specificities. It means they must work side by side. So each subsystem must preserve its
contents and his integrity. I guess we must apply all the recommendation and resolution with parsimony, because we don't want to have a new problem by the implementation of those resolutions, to preserve the national unity and the national integration process.
Honorable O.C. Joshua, first Vice President of the Social Democratic Front, Cameroonians, especially those from the northwest and southwest regions of the country watching you now, would want to know if the major national dialogue has finally opened the way out of the Anglophone crisis, out of the Anglophone problem.
Well, for me, what is most important, Sababla, what is really important is to see that dialogue is always stronger than the bullets. And I think I'm not talking here to the Amber boys and girls. No, I'm talking here to the regime. The regime didn't want this dialogue for 3 years. The SDF fought for it. We blocked Parliament at 3 occasions. We even blocked the Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister, from speaking. We had a very, very strong neck position at our last neck meeting, saying we're going to walk out of the institutions if we do not go into this dialogue. And so when the president finally recognized on the 10th of September that there is a problem in the northwest and southwest, and that it is a civil war, and that we need to come to talk to each other, and handed it to the Prime Minister to organize this dialogue, I think it's already a victory, because what we want is to be able to make sure that the frustrations that have come about by the marginalization of Cameroonians of northwest and southwest extraction should stop. And one school of thought had it that it can only happen with bullets. A second school of thought had it that the only answer to it is bullets. And the third school of thought, which is the SDF, has always had it that it can only be solved by talking to each other. And we are Africans, we cherish our African tradition, and we think that when there is trouble in the house, when there is trouble in the village, we go around, we go where I come from in the southwest, we go to the Palava house, we call it the Etana, and we talk it out there, and we take engagements to come out of the trouble in which we are. So I will not say that this dialogue is success. Success will be the day when nobody will have to kill somebody else to make sure he's no longer marginalized. But it's a first step. It's a second step. It's a third step towards that peace that we all so cherish and we want in the northwest and the southwest. I think we've put up a certain amount of points that take us very far, not where we want to be, but very far towards the direction in which this marginalization can be something of the past. There's still many things to be done, but we should cherish where we've gone to today by talking to each other. And nobody said in this dialogue that if things do not work out, we'll not come back. So right now, the message I have for everybody in the southwest and northwest is that let's give dialogue a chance, let's give peace a chance, let's talk to each other. We're much stronger when we're talking to each other than when we're shooting at each other.
Everything has been concluded. The general report has been read, and they will certainly be transmitted to the President of the Republic. What's your take on all what has happened here? What are you looking up to?
Well, if I understood the genesis of the dialogue has to do with the problems in the northwest, southwest regions. And the President's speech was to convene Cameroonians to see if they can work out solutions that would lead to lasting peace in the Anglophone regions. Now, when I came here, I had no illusions that this meeting would bring any permanent solutions. In my mind, I saw it as an event that would put in motion a process that will eventually lead to a resolution of the Anglophone problem. And so if you ask me, and many people have asked me, what's your take on it? My take on it is the process is in motion. And with time, we'll see if it bears fruit or not.